Hello, and welcome to the Electric Sheep Research Lab in beautiful Richardson, Texas. Today is Sunday, January the 14th, 2018, and this is Jim Cadell, aka Glampa, with your Electric Sheep Project post-beta test status report. But before we get into that, let me briefly summarize what this project is all about for those of you just checking in for the first time. Electric Sheep is an art project for Burning Man 2018. The project is about artificial life and artificial intelligence, which is part of their theme this year. The software I am currently testing is an artificial world capable of supporting up to 25,000 artificially intelligent virtual robots. And by virtual, I mean that they don't have real bodies, they have software bodies, and they live inside the computer. Now, there will be two views of this world. There's going to be a high-level view, like this. It's sort of a map. We get to look down on the world from orbit, so we just started this over again. This is what it looks like when the world starts. There's lots and lots of animals, and 90% of them die in the first few days, and those that survive to have babies get to win the world. Anyway, this is a high-level view in which we get to look down at the world from orbit, and we also have a more personal view, where we have one random specimen selected from thousands currently living, and we try to get a sense of what that little guy is thinking and doing right now. Now we're looking at the high-level orbital view, the main monitor, the high-level orbital view. And what you're seeing is a map. Now the white spots are snow caps. And you can see the seasonal changes there. The reddish areas, if there are any, there'll be some down there, those little reddish spots. They're high in non-living organic matter. Greenish areas are high in vegetation. Some of these are very high in vegetation. The bluish bits are underwater, and all other landscape areas are combinations of those three, the red, the green, and the blue elements. Lighter areas are high, darker areas are low. And then you have all these little dots moving around, and those are our electric sheep, going about their tiny electronic lives. Now we have two views of this. The one you're looking at is a fast view. It's a time lapse. It's a movie, basically, of what's going on in the world so far. We have another view, the exact, whoops, it's over here. We have the exact same view down here, but this is what's happening in the world right now. It's real time, so it's slow. It changes every few seconds. But from orbit, you can't really get a sense of what's going on down there. So let's go to the specimen view. What this screen does is to select a random animal and follow it throughout its life until it dies. So hopefully we can get a better idea of what's going on down there. On the left, we got a graphic representation of the animal based on its DNA at its current stage of development. There's even facial expressions depicting its mood. I know this doesn't look much like a sheep, and that's okay. I may make it more sheep-like before Burning Man, and I may not. I'll just keep tinkering with it until then. I'm sure of that. Up here, we have another map, much like a zoomed-in version of the world, but from the specimen's point of view. The specimen is always right in the center. Let's see, what is he doing now? The green arrow means he's going to go to where you can find the best grass, and he's going to eat it. He's grazing. Those gray areas are places he can't get to because they're outside of his ecological niche. They're probably too high or too low for him, or maybe underwater, Lord knows what. Arrows mean different things. Yellow means he's fleeing a predator. Brown means he's scavenging. Yellow, he's fleeing, but he's also found some nice juicy grass over there and he's grazing. So this is what's happening to this critter right now. I plan to enlarge and expand that map so that we can see things outside of his range of vision, because right now this is only what this sheep sees. But that would help put it into context for us. There's also text down here that kind of explains what's going on. Something about this animal. It's kind of a summary, a little biography. And over here is what you're actually doing. Let me turn on the music. I had it turned off. This music you hear is an auditory expression of the specimen's neural network. Sorry. Each specimen has its own unique song. The basic melody and the bass line are generated from the unique genetic profile that feeds into the animal's neural network, which, like parts of its body, like parts of your body, you can see in this box over here, they're inherited from its parents, with maybe a few mutations here and there. The key signature and the tempo, the backbeat, and embellishments are determined by what's happening in the specimen's life. I plan to spice up the music and make it a little more danceable before the burn. Wouldn't that be fun to kind of throw down some kicking bleats, yes I said bleats, and dance to the music from these AI's brains? Now, if the participant gets tired of hearing this particular specimen and this particular music, that's bleat is the sound they make when they die, they can just select a different specimen with one of the interactive controls. So there'll be a touch control. I'm kind of excited about having the music because that adds one more layer of participation. And it helps to make these little AIs seem more alive. So when the participants hit that disaster button, we haven't gotten to that, but that's what when we want to bring down the apocalypse on these poor little helpless innocent AIs, those tiny lives might seem a little more real to them if they like the music. So let's talk a little bit about the beta test and what happened there. Main thing is that we used a big Soviet-style console. This is it. It's kind of disassembled right now. There's quite a lot of it, as you can see. And it didn't really work out. People climbed on it, they set their drinks on it, they smeared the monitors. The mechanical buttons and dials wouldn't last a day out there on the playa. That big red selector dial over here, the big red selector dial broke off after a couple hours. That one died. So in the 10 days between the beta test and today, we've completely redesigned the interface. Instead of that big sprawling console, like that one, we'll use a tall, vertical, monolithic kiosk. Now, it'll be about as wide as this table, not counting the side panels. And about as tall as this ceiling, because guess what? This is where I'm going to build it. Now, the monitors will be set flush against a clear slab of plastic, either plexiglass or Lexan or something hard and tough. You can see these are pretty flush. I haven't installed the ones on the bottom yet, but there'll be 5 monitors in all. And the touch-sensitive controls will be down here on the bottom, either kind of in between and on both sides of these bottom 2 monitors. And these 2 on the bottom will give instructions, they'll answer questions, and I guess the whole thing will be similar to an ATM menu, and I think most people are familiar with what those look like. This is kind of the default right here. And he died. Now right now the touch control electronics are still glued to the back of this console, so those are offline right now. We're going to have to use the laptop's keyboard as interface. This one's got some pretty fast music because she's pretty successful. He's pretty successful. He's got 27 children. Anyway, where was I? What else do we find out from the beta test? For one thing, the software would get bogged down if people didn't take their fingers off the touch controls. Now that's been fixed. For another thing, some of the sound effects triggered panic responses in some people. So I'm going to remove the emergency sirens. But I haven't done that yet. I'm going to turn the music down just a little bit until we're ready. Okay. One thing they really liked was sticking their fingers into these electric light sockets. Those were used as part of the touch control system. Now we're in the process of redesigning the touch controls, so I'm not sure whether we're going to keep or discard the light sockets. They're kind of fun, but kind of ugly also. If we keep them, I'd like to add a mechanical buzzer underneath them to vibrate when people touch them. And if, the catastrophe is making sound effects at the same time, it'll be kind of startling. Of course, we can't do real electric shocks because of pacemakers and that sort of thing. Another thing that became obvious is that we need to spend some time making the software restartable. As it is now, the e-sheep have to evolve from primordial slime every time we start up the software. And if it's restartable, we can have a month or so of simulation before the burn to allow them to evolve a complex, robust, highly evolved ecology before the burners start throwing meteors at their little world. So are you ready? Shall we send down a catastrophe on these poor, unsuspecting little guys? Oh, before we do that, let me stress that for all intents and purposes, these are real live animals. Yes, their lives are brief and simple, but they are hatch, they eat, they excrete, they grow, they mate, they grow old, and they die. They have neural network programming, which is a sort of simple software brain, so they do make decisions based on current conditions. And most important of all, I didn't program them. I set up the world and their conditions, and they evolved on their own to fit them. Now, we can send down a catastrophe, and it may help them, or it may hurt them. I mean, in the long run. It may cause them to go extinct, or it might open up new grazing grounds for them by removing a geographic boundary of some kind, some sort of a geographic obstacle, like here. That looks like it may have, it might have been knocked out by a meteorite or something. It wasn't. I think that's the original landscape. But in the short term, in the short run, it's likely that thousands of these little guys are going to die. So let's keeping that in mind. Let's give it a try. If you're ready, let's select a meteorite. That would be fun, wouldn't it? So I'll just keep the camera trained on this. If you're ready, let me turn up sound before we do that. Okay, here we go. That needs to go.
You have selected a meteorite. Please be advised that thousands may die, and the innocent and the wicked alike shall perish by your wrath.
There it is, right there. And it hit in the water, but it's all these little red blotches you see. Little timing issue on some, and even up into here. Some of those are deaths from the meteorites. That red that you see, that's kind of dissolving into the water. Those are the broken, twisted bodies of our little electric sheep. Turning that down back again. Okay, here we go. Now, the computer voice that you heard is the interface between the participants and the world. Another thing that became clear is that the interface is going to have to be beefed up to answer people's questions if we don't want to have a docent on site 24/7, and I don't want that. I lost my voice during the beta test. But writing that kind of software is pretty easy. I suspect that before we're done, it's kind of fun to write that kind of software too. I suspect that before we're done, you won't be able to tell the difference between just a dumb interface and a real live AI. Though technically it's not going to be an artificial intelligence at all, it's just sort of a little robot. The interface already has kind of a snarky attitude. So I think we can build on that and give it some personality, and think that people would probably enjoy that. Okay, and that's our status report for January of 2017. Happy New Year, everybody. I will see you at the burn, and I'm looking forward to it. Bye.